Hello, my friends! Another aspect of the great cosmic game, with all its suffering, is the knowledge that came later. The curiosity that impels humanity, and especially scientists, to discover and understand what the universe is that of the divine. He uses man to discover himself in his material manifestation. Every human being is connected to the central station like a lamp is connected to the power station by a kind of invisible wire, and what he feels, discovers, explores, goes back in his quintessence to the source, which derive a greater or lesser pleasure from it. As in video games, there are levels of access, difficulty, performance. Not everyone is on the same level, but everyone can become winners, because as in all games, there are and there will be winners and losers. Already, we are all winners of the great sperm race. Will the loser go to hell? Not, because there is no hell. Hell is on earth. Hell is the others, said Jean-Paul Sartre. Not just the others. Some live a hellish life without others being responsible for it. They pay for previous life. It's the bad karma that the Hindu talk about. It is all the more hellish because it seems unfair and we do not know the reason, oblivion being the rule in each new life. But it can also be the choice, unconscious in our world, to experience suffering in an intense way, to have stronger sensation in the game. The perilous mountains climbs, the crossings, and even the solo round the world sailing or rowing, the bungee jumps, etc., abound in these directions. Another moment may seem infernal just after death. According to the Bardo Total Book of the Tibetan Dead, when we die, we lose consciousness. Then, after a while, you wake up without understanding that you are dead. Then appears the primordial light, as they call the divine light. If the disease is afraid of it and does not recognize it, it must be said that without prior preparations, it is very impressive and extremely difficult to accept to let go. Demons arise and subject him to infernal torments. After a while, perhaps several days, depending on the individual, the fear subsides and the primordial light returns, but more faintly. If we still don't recognize it, the demons still show up, and so on until we reincarnate. If, decidedly, we cannot accept the light. Who are those demons? The infernal legions. They are not entities that we live in hell, but simply the accumulation of all the evil things, acts, thoughts that have cluttered our earthly consciousness. In particular, all the horrors we could have realized or contemplated, especially if we took pleasure of it. Or, of course, the murderers and executioners of all kinds will have their share of demons, but also those who have loved the horror film a little too much, even books. I pity fans of this kind of shows in advance, not to mention their directors. And the winners, will they go heaven? No more. There is no paradise. At least in the sense that most religions give it, which is a far too childish and earthly conception. See the description of hell and paradise in Dante's Divine Comedy, a faithful reflection of the beliefs of this time. What there is, which I have have the grace to contemplate in order to relate it to other humans is far above it, but impossible to accurately translate faithfully by words. I can only give a raw description, a bit like wanting to express digital in our analog universe without the right interface or sufficiently powerful. In this case, I am only a very small and weak interface. What is certain is that having had a glimpse of it makes me think of earthly enjoyment as very little and makes me want to go back. In fact, all will return, because everyone we are divine bubbles of the bottom of the carcass that we believe to be the only reality, the divine spark within each human and also at another level of each life form. So what the difference will there be between losers and winners? Losing or winning has nothing to do with social, financial success. Even one could almost say the opposite. Everyone keeps the possibility of winning until the end of his life. Only it is much more difficult for those stuck in materialism, especially money, to be able to win this passage. What Jesus said, it is much more difficult for a rich person to access heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. The losers will return to the home without realizing the passage and return to bubbles of consciousness. The winners, on the contrary, will do so in a greater or lesser lucidity, according to their merits or especially their preparation. This is not a small thing. It is a pleasure, a joy above anything that one can imagine or feel. Already, the ecstatic enjoyment that can be reached through yoga methods or in the ecstasium is very superior, much more intense, much more lasting and controllable than the sexual orgasm. Moreover, we bath in a fabulous light. When I compare the intensity of ecstatic enjoyment that I felt at the beginning of this manifestation and the fear that accompanied it with what I managed to experience, without any more fear almost every day, I can imagine that the return home will be fantastic, become God Himself again. But beware, this return will take place only at the end of time, which is very close. So, how can we prepare for it? Can we even prepare for it? To a certain extent, yes. We are already helping by really applying what Jesus said. Love each other, by applying it fully and not content with our immediate families and friendly entourage, nor even an occasional gift to relieve misery at the other side of the world, but by developing relationship with neighbors in buildings, neighborhoods, everywhere. Extensive communication with love. We can also, and above all, apprehend suffering in a different way. Not resigned and overwhelmed, but in a calm acceptance of the event which results in a kind of bonus point for the return. One can also, in particular, practice meditation by avoiding enrollment in sex or other structures attacking the mind. We don't need anyone to meditate or a special place. A dark and quiet room is enough. Full black is preferable, but not essential. Any placeable is suitable. Even the toilet, if there is no other one available. However, avoid the outdoors, too many distractions. But these methods generally do not allow to either reach ecstatic illumination planes and the enjoyment that accompanies him. When I got involved in the search for ecstasium and the draw of light, my original intention was to propose a new entertaining show. But the hundreds of visitors showed me that this music-light relationship allowed them to reach very quickly and effortlessly levels of consciousness previously unknown to them. Many say they had the impression of sleeping without sleeping, with very great visual and hearing acuity. Some, the most sensitive ones, do not even watch the show until the end and close their eyes to go even further. Others told me they felt that if they had let themselves go, they could have gone much further, but they are not there. In this show, what matters is not what you see and hear, it's what you feel. Everyone was feeling well after the session. For my part, I was not satisfied with aesthetic or intellectual criteria to judge the progress of this research, but with the efficiency, the ease, the speed, the intensity of ecstasy that this gives me. The main revelation of the Book of Revelation is that it contains the master plan, the symbolic plane of the structure that allows to communicate with the divine plans effortlessly and easily, without preparation, without prior belief. This is God's gift to humanity. I recall that almost all the elements of the compositions were inspired and experienced for me long before I thought of the book of John. I used it to adjust the placement of these different parts and specify the colors. It was then that I made the interpretation where I saw concordances with my research and a plausible explanation to the fantastic and mysterious description of this text which caused so much hang flow. The ecstasium is a cosmic connector, a tabernacle, that is to say, a place inhabited by the divine presence, that allows you to establish a connection with the light, the divine energy, to get used to it, to receive more and more in order to prepare for the great return near by listening to music. Hence the importance of sound quality. To fully open the gate of paradise can only be contemplated with a heavenly sound. I experience it every evening, more or less intensely. My only wish is to share this happiness, this hope, with the maximum number of people of all ages from all backgrounds. To return to suffering, we often have the impression that our difficulties, our misfortunes, our sorrows are caused by a bad genius, an evil spirit, a demon. However, it can also be seen that bad actions at the start can result in a beneficial outcome. If one is an observer and with the retrospect of time, one can even notice the hint of humor hidden behind our vicissitudes. I had a very disturbing vision. I was in another dimension, in front of a kind of video screen, which confirms the notion of the cosmic game. And I was piloting the character that I am in our world. It was myself, the part that remained in the 10th dimensions, which inflicted the torments of the game on me. This would mean that would be both here and on the other side in the other world, in front of some kind of screen playing a super, mega, hyper, giga second life, busy making us miseries here to have fun there. Our guardian angels, our protective spirits, our evil genius would be the other part of ourselves. Maybe, or my analysis of the book of Revelation and my interpretation of what happened to me are wrong. Maybe I was abused by the imagination of my own brain. Perhaps there were only many coincidences. But in any case, the extasium with the joy of ecstasy, joy of paradise, the work resulting from these analyses, this research is there. And it works to connect me to the sound of dreams maker and over consciousness by providing me with intense orgasmic and luminous ecstasies.